Post up in the hills on the rail, headed for a mill. Travel with me still, getting kills. All this pop appeal, got these pop stars try popping in, and they getting pop for real. I ain't tryna build, I was tryna lead a mill. Getting to it, before I hopped up off the block, I was still going through it. Friends doing pills, and came faster than it should've. I was Buddy Hill, shooting at a pace soon as I pull up, dropping buckets. Yeah, like it's nothing. In the kitchen, chopping onions. Yeah, tears falling down. Underdog is finally overcoming. Cause I'm dropping buckets. Hey, yeah, like it's nothing. Hey, earn my respect and burn a budget. Tears falling down, underdog is finally overcoming, baby, yeah, I'm dropping buckets. Got some cash for me, don't worry about my past for me. I'm driving with no gasoline, this life I live's a fantasy. Yeah, I do this for my dogs, all my day ones and my family. My life gon' live through them if I end up in any tragedies. I hope y'all understand this shit got bigger cause it had to be. I always knew I had it, but just not at this capacity. I recognize the gravity, closer to the summit, stacking chips and counting nuggets. I've been stunting, baby, cause I'm dropping buckets. Hey. Yeah, like it's nothing. Ayy, in the kitchen chopping onions. Ayy, tears falling down. Underdog is finally overcoming. Cause I'm dropping buckets. Ayy, yeah, like it's nothing. Ayy, earn my respect and burn a budget. Ayy, tears falling down. Underdog is finally overcoming, baby. Cause I'm dropping buckets. Earn my respect and burn a budget. Tears falling down. Underdog is finally overcoming, baby, cause I'm dropping buckets. Hey, all work, no pleasure. I ain't here to make friends, big stepper. Hey, bad guy, Heath Ledger. Ready for wherever, I'll be front and center. Don't fly too close to the sun, your body chopped up by propellers. Came in arrogant, but left out in a stretcher. Fuck the comparison, y'all know y'all couldn't replicate it. Chilling in the desert, I'm good under pressure. Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found. This a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles. From the ground, with me to the clouds, never coming down. That's the crown on me, wear it proud, show 'em what we bout. Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found. Said this a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles. From the ground, with me to the clouds, never coming down. That's the crown on me, wear it proud, fuck what they was talking about. All work, no pleasure. I ain't here to make friends, big stepper. Hey, bad guy, Heath Ledger. Ready for wherever, I'll be front and center. Quick to sever, however, whoever. Raining from above, we shooting down through your umbrella. Ay, getting fed up, nothing you could tell us. Snapping every shot I take, just wait till it develops. Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found. This a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles. From the ground, with me to the clouds, never coming down. That's the crown on me, wear it proud, show 'em what we bout. Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found. Said this a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles. From the ground, with me to the clouds, never coming down. That's the crown on me, wear it proud, fuck what they was talking about. Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found. From the ground, with me to the clouds, never coming down. Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found. Said this a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles. From the ground with me to the clouds, never coming down. That's the crown on me, wear it proud, fuck what they was talking about.
side seats doing ethnic cleansing.
Good evening, everyone, and salute to everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Standing on Business podcast. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me and hear me well. Okay, just want to make sure before I get going, if everyone can actually hear me starting out. So put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Yes, success. All right. Dang it. All right, dag nabbit, that deserves a freaking celebration. Where's my Rance? There's Rance. There's Rance. There he is. All right. Starting out with no technical issues. All right. Fingers crossed. All right. Woo. All right. It's the small wins, people. It's the small wins. All right. It's the small wins. All right. So I'm doing something a little different tonight as far as I have like 2 chats going on at the same time here. One on my channel and the one on BMU's channel here. So, and then one right here in StreamYard. So we're trying to communicate in all three different locations here. So bear with me as I advance and try to grow a little bit in my technical prowess. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing here? Who's in the sanctuary? All right. We have Bubs here. Okay. All right. Good to see you. Okay. All right. And we have Edward Gilbert. All right. Good to see you. All right. And that seems to be all that we have at the very moment. We have 4 people so far. So some people have not commented just yet, but it's fine. It's good to go. Let's go ahead and take care of a little bit of housekeeping here. Hey, make sure you do support the BMU network. Okay. All right. And if you'd be so kind to drop a cash app to the brother. All right. Support the show, support the family. He works hard on behind the scenes. All right, to prepare everything on a weekly basis. And we have something here for you 7 days a week, almost 7 days a week. Okay, we're working on that 7th. We're working on that second, close, 5 days a week. Okay, we're working on that 7th day. Okay, so and we got something for you. All right, but anyway, we're working behind the scenes there. So by all means, do support the family, do support the show. All right, do support the network. Okay, drop a cash app. All right. And later on, if you be so kind, also, if you feel it within your heart and your soul to support me directly, but it is not a requirement. All right. Likes are free. Subscriptions are free. Drop on over to my own network. My address is right there. The Objective is Podcast. Pop on over there, like and subscribe. That's all that I wouldn't say require, but request. Okay. At this present time, as I decide to grow my own platform as well and grow and expand as well. Okay. All right. So I got a doozy for you. All right. And Yes, it is part 4. All right, of the LGBTQ or the Pride Conundrum. As admittedly, I wasn't for sure if I was going to proceed here with this particular. Hey, how you doing there, Braxton? I wasn't for sure if I was going to proceed with this one here, this particular go round, but something crossed my feed, and it's taking a legal turn, and it is heading to the Supreme Court. And I was like, okay, I gotta attack this one. I wouldn't say attack it, but I gotta latch on to this one. Okay. And it has to do with trans health for youth or minors, if you will. Okay. Now I have a very strong opinion, all right, relative to this topic. And before I give my opinion about it, I definitely want to go down this rabbit hole here and present what I have found. All right. And give, yes, the facts before I give opinions. All right. And I have a few clips. I don't know if I'm actually going to get through all of them. I have an interview that I'd like to show, and it's by Jordan Peterson. And let me tell you something. There are but few people that I would like to have an intellectual conversation with, and Jordan Peterson is, regardless of his political affiliation, Jordan Peterson is one of those guys that I would actually love to have a conversation with, because the guy is sharp. All right. And I think I could actually learn something from the guy, if nothing more than just an ability to think outside the box. Okay. And, the guy's sharp. All right. I do enjoy listening to the way he thinks, and it definitely opens up the brain to think objectively. I think that's why I kind of, latch on to him a bit. But first things first, I have a clip for you that's going to be the introductory to this topic. Okay. And it deals with the Tennessee law, Senate Bill 1, that was passed in 2023, and it is going to be going to the Supreme Court December 4th. Yes, December 4th, and Supreme Court will be hearing whether or not that bill is constitutional or not, relative to the DOJ's complaint against Senate Bill 1 relative to trans health, specifically in regarding around gender affirming care for minors. So here we go.
Is challenging a Tennessee law that prohibits doctors from performing gender transition surgery and other procedures on minors. The Supreme Court is set to hear the case in December, and the court's decision could have a profound impact on the safety, security, and well-being of America's children. Here's Wendy Griffith.
Tennessee passed the law last year, banning children from receiving hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and gender surgery. Those suing say the transgender patients must have the right to these treatments. Child advocates disagree, saying they're harmful.
We know, based on research, based on clinical practice, based on growing international consensus, that these interventions for minors are not based on any credible evidence that the benefits outweigh the risks. There are a growing number of teenagers and young adults who say that they have been harmed.
Leo Sapir of the Manhattan Institute hopes the case, United States versus Scrametti, will expose what he calls the Biden administration's extreme and dangerous transgender agenda when it comes to surgeries for kids.
They eliminated age minimums from their standard of care recommendations under pressure from Dr. Rachel Levin, the Assistant Secretary for Health at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is an opportunity for the court to put an end to this nonsense.
Ed Whalen with the Ethics and Public Policy Center notes that the World Professional Association for Transgender Health proposed age male refused.
Levine said, no, that would be politically disastrous for us. Take them out. And that's what ended up happening.
The Justice Department joined a Nashville teenager, his parents, and the ACLU, arguing the state law discriminates on the basis of transgender status and violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment.
If the court can announce that we are not protected under the Constitution, it can and will do that for everyone. And the movements that are targeting trans people currently are pushing the false narrative that it is harmful to be trans.
In a statement, the parents of the transgender boy who identifies as a girl don't want to leave Tennessee. But this legislation would force us to either routinely leave our state to get needs or to uproot our entire lives and leave Tennessee altogether. No family should have to make this kind of choice. Sapir points out, however, that research on so-called gender-affirming care shows it can harm kids, both short and long term, leading England and several other European countries to limit the treatments.
Puberty blockers are associated with risks such as cognitive impairment, bone density problems, brittle bones, sexual dysfunction, and of course sterility when they're coupled with cross-sex hormones, lifelong sterility. There are serious risks that come from these interventions, and I haven't even gotten into the surgery issue. And so it's perfectly reasonable. In fact, it's completely justified for states to say, this is an ongoing, uncontrolled medical experiment on children, and we're going to regulate it. We're going to make sure that kids have the ability to understand what they're getting themselves into before they can possibly give consent to these treatments.
Many detransitioners are also warning their peers about the danger and the trauma of these often drastic procedures.
Whatever your issue is, cutting your body up is not going to solve that.
How do you respond to those who say, well, some of the stuff is reversible? You can change your mind.
I wish it was reversible.
Both experts believe the Supreme Court will deliver a sweeping victory to Tennessee and uphold age restrictions for transgender surgeries, something more than 24 states already do. Their big concern now is the other states that have no age restrictions for irreversible, life-altering trans surgeries, which they argue is more about politics than science and could put countless children in danger. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Thank you, Wendy. Bigger picture, I think Levine is one of the reasons why voters turned out the way they did and why you saw the election results that we all saw. Common sense Americans and Americans who love children are saying enough is enough. When you've got kids who can't vote, can't buy booze, without parents' permission, can't get a tattoo or their ears pierced, but the medical community is able to experiment and profit and make an awful lot of money for many years off these children. We've got a big problem. Remember being a teenager? Decision making is difficult, and we're expecting these kids to make informed decisions about sex changes. And you heard people there who regret their transition saying cutting off a body part does not compensate for the emotional pain I'm in. And when we see liberal nations who are putting up guardrails, it should really speak to us. And people have empathy for parents of trans. I know I do. What do they need? Do they need our pity? Maybe not, but they need us to be empathetic and compassionate and listen. But they don't need a medical community barging in to make profits off these children. I mean, this infuriates most Americans, most parents, because the regret many people have, there's such trauma involved in it.
Well, I think it's also, we're talking about freedom here, and the freedom to be able to change your mind if you want to is gone if you've had some of these procedures. So the very thing you talked about is there are reasons we don't allow minor children to make some of those decisions. They're not ready. It's common sense. Yeah. It's finally, you see some people standing up and saying so.
Whew. All right. So I didn't warn everybody that this was going to be a heavy topic tonight. I did not warn everyone. And this is why I titled the show tonight, A Permanent Solution to a Temporary Situation. because in a lot of instances, I believe that what a lot of people are feeling, at least studies are either suggesting, or maybe even some psychologists are maybe even coming around to now, is that what may be perceived as a dysphoria, or maybe a nonconformity on the polar opposite side, or what may be a societal kind of pressure to, feel or conform, or maybe disassociate, or maybe, pressure to not assimilate, or whatever it may be. And you'll find that some of these people who go through this period within their lives where they don't think or feel as though that they are, neatly fitting within this niche of either male or female, you'll find, and you hear a lot, that they were either bullied, or they don't necessarily, which in one of the clips have, you'll find that they didn't. There we go. We're back. Okay. You'll find as though that they didn't have something that maybe they wished that they did have, that maybe the surrounding culture around them, either family members or friends or people at school or whatnot, oftentimes had physiologically. Okay. If we want to just talk real, physiologically, it's temporary. And the thought process is that maybe if allowed to grow out of it, or grow past it and helped through it, that they wouldn't feel as though, it wouldn't feel as though that a permanent solution is necessary for a temporary situation. Or my thought is maybe not necessarily needing to be such in a rush to become something that they have not yet grown into, when they haven't even become who they're destined to become before they've altered or changed their trajectory, in a sense. So let's get into what the material here is as far as what's going on. Okay. And bear with me for a second, because apparently it is storming where it is where I am, and apparently everything is going haywire. So bear with me as I get through this. All right. So Justice Department is filing a complaint against Tennessee Senate bill. And essentially the complaint alleges that SB 1, the ban on providing certain medically necessary care on transgender minors, violates the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause. The department is also asking the court to issue an immediate order to prevent the law from going into effect at that point in time, which it did not work. All right. And so SB 1 makes it unlawful to provide or offer to provide certain types of medical care for transgender minors with diagnosed gender dysphoria. SB 1 blanket ban prohibits potential treatment options that have been recommended by major medical associations for consideration in limited circumstances in accordance with established and comprehensive guidelines and standards of care. By Okay. And apparently I spoke way too soon. I was way too excited about technical problems. Put one in the chat if you guys can hear me. There we go. Awesome. Cool. And yes, Austin, correct. We live in a world where people feel like self-love comes from the acceptance of others. And yes, versus personal acceptance or self-acceptance. Yes, I could spot on. I could agree with that. I'm going to start that because I'm going to come back to that statement. All right. So by denying only, now bear in mind this statement right here, by denying only transgender youth access to these forms of medically necessary care while allowing non-transgender minors access to the same similar procedures, SB1 discriminates against transgender youth. Here's where everything is getting really screwed up right here, is because there isn't balance. All right. So let me walk this through really quick. So apparently, take a male and take a female and walk them to the clinic, okay? And we're going to the clinic and they are getting testosterone, okay? The male can get testosterone with no problem. But the female is getting testosterone and it's a problem. Now, what's the difference? One is getting it because it's a deficiency. The other one is getting it because she is diagnosed with gender dysphoria and it's wanting to appear more masculine. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm just giving you the difference. The difference here is that it's the same drug, technically, but the difference is the diagnosis and the prognosis. And that is the principle, the basis of what is being considered discrimination. Yeah, that is essentially what's happening here. That is a premise, is that certain procedures are okay for someone for a minor to have done, provided that the precursor or the target reason for said procedure, prescription, whatever, whatnot, is not for the sake of transgender specific reasons, essentially. And by that definition right there, that is technically a situation of, yes, discrimination, technically speaking. All right, let's continue. The department's complaint alleges that SB1 violates the Equal Protection Clause by discriminating on the basis of both sex and transgender status. Doctors, parents, and anyone else who provides or offers to provide the prohibited care faces the possibility of civil suits for 30 years and other sanctions. Okay. No person should be denied access to necessary medical care just because their transgender status. Okay. The right to consider your health and medically approved treatment options with your family and doctors is a right that everyone should have, including transgender children who are especially vulnerable and to serious risk of depression, anxiety, and that word. I almost said it. But you get that point right there. The Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department will continue to aggressively challenge all forms of discrimination and unlawful barriers faced by the LGBTQI+. Thought it was QIA+. Okay, we're going to continue. A community. All right. SB1 violates the constitutional rights of some of Tennessee's most vulnerable citizens. Left unchallenged, it would prohibit transgender children from receiving health care that their medical providers and their parents have determined to be medically necessary. In doing so, the law seeks to substitute the judgment of trained medical professionals and parents with that of elected officials and codifies discrimination against children who already face far too many obstacles. Okay. Now, yes, I agree with this. All right, so here we go. Here's my stance on this before I get into the statute 6833-103 and SB1, which SB1 is a compendium of SA 6833-102 and 6833-103. Okay, because the findings speak more specific as to what it targets and why. Okay, and once you read the why, I think, because this is very, what I just read to you is very incendiary. Okay, but you have to read the why and what the findings are to then say, right? Okay, here's my opinion. Okay, because I'm stepping outside of the objective side and just giving you my opinion really quick. I personally do not think that any minors should be transitioning medically at all. That's my personal opinion. So, yes, clock it. That's my personal opinion. I say this because there are complications that I don't have time to get into specifics that here we go. If you look up Jazz Jennings' situation, Jazz Jennings, Jazz Jennings, that's one situation that would give you some pause about why too young and removing an age limit is a problem. Okay. But to me, it doesn't make sense to proceed at such a young age, especially under the age of 18. And the thought process of changing something that isn't done developing yet doesn't quite jive right. I've heard things like going through the wrong puberty. I've heard that before. Well, that doesn't make sense to me. Because you're going to, unless you're having precocious puberty where the puberty is happening at the wrong time, your biological setting is going to go through the intended puberty that you biologically are going to go through because your biological factory was established the moment that pretty much sex was determined. Sex was determinative. So I'm having a hard time with the mindset of, and we can even argue about sex determinative, or when life was established, or when we can say life was confirmed, or we can even say that life was confirmed to be efficient on its own, breathing, actual oxygen versus hemoglobinized oxygen that is within fluid within the actual nostrils. Okay, we can go there. The point that I'm making here is that to say that you're going through the wrong puberty, that doesn't make sense to me. And then studies are starting to show that people actually grow out of what they perceive to be their preferred gender, if you will, once they grow out of what they perceive to be wrong with them, or what is perceived to be a disconnect between what is a mental preference or a disagreement with what is a physical or corporeal reality. Hey, we have some agreement there. Good to go. So, but however, putting back on my objective hat, parents in general control the rights and control the agency of children. Right? So that means that you are entrusted with the decisions and the well-being and the agency of your children, whether you obtain them biologically or you obtain them legally or statutorily. So that means that you wouldn't want someone to come in and say to you that, hey, you're doing something wrong, per se, on one end. So therefore, saying that what counsel you got from a doctor and what you provide as consent relative to what a doctor has recommended is wrong. You wouldn't want someone to say that that's wrong on your end, so don't do that on the other, right? Right? Fine. Then I'd posit this. Get a second opinion. And then 2, consider risk. Because is the risk really worth it? Is the risk worth potentially ending up like Jazz Jennings, okay? And is the risk worth you, the parent, being responsible for being that person responsible for your child's regret? Okay? Okay. So that's my spiel. Okay? I disagree with it wholeheartedly and vehemently disagree with it. Sure, I am an ally for people who want to go and transition and they have the right to do that, but they have the right as a legal, juridical, and statutory person to do that. You cannot be all 3 of those things and under 18. Sorry. Yes, I did say that. Yes, I did. Yes, memory of an elephant. Yes, I did say that. Until then, get this kid some mascara. Yes. Okay, is less harmful. Absolutely. I did say that. Okay. And you're gonna hear, if I get to it, you're gonna hear that there is oftentimes, especially in girls, you're gonna hear that there are oftentimes girls who are misdiagnosed for having gender dysphoria. They're oftentimes misdiagnosed for this because they are oftentimes autistic. Because autistic children don't like having their skin exposed, and they like the comfort of having covered skin. And girls' clothing typically are usually shorter, or if they are covered, it's usually itchy or chiffon-like or daintier or whatever. And boys' clothing is usually cotton, cotton blends, things like that, so on and so forth. Hello there, Alexis. Good to see you. Howdy. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yes. Or tighter. Yes. Okay. My oldest son, he's autistic. All right. And so he's the same way. He does not, he prefers long sleeves. And he does not prefer to wear short sleeves, even in the dead of summer. And so I've been pleading with him to, hey, even in the summertime, if you must wear pants, wear ankle socks and at least wear a short sleeve shirt if you must. Okay, please, because I'd rather not have to come and resuscitate you because you were dehydrated, and drink plenty of water, please. Okay, but just because those female female minors are wearing typically male associated clothing for 6 months, and because autistic children typically are interested in things and disassociated from being interested in people and social gatherings, whatever. Girls are very social warts, and they're interested in people and less about the things and building things and so on and so forth. I just listed three categories that is on the DSM-5 TR right now. Do that for 6 months, and then someone's going to say, oh, well, you must be gender dysphoric. And then don't let them not be feminine looking. Let them be masculine looking, because two people got together and produced a female who doesn't have typical female features. Just like two people got together and created a male that doesn't have typical male features. Hello, somebody. Who am I talking to here? So, damn it. Don't let that happen. And then people will be willing to call you all kinds of names. Oops. Now, that's 4 reasons. And don't let them get to the 13th reason. And then that girl is now gender dysphoric. Clinically. And God help her if she's not secure in herself. Or God help him if he's not secure in himself. What I'm trying to prove a point is that society is constantly telling people that they're not something that they most definitely are. And if they're not secure in themselves, they would definitely end up pushing people to do something or be something that not, and got doctors that are making money off the shit. You're going to hear something where a doctor is basically not telling a girl that, hey, what you're going through is normal for a girl and normal for someone who might be autistic. Put those two together, and the only worst outcome that you might get once you grow past this is that you might be homosexual. Versus possibly dealing with a detransition, having someone lop your breast off, and now this young girl is detransitioning and suing, possibly suing her parents, and definitely suing the doctors for pressuring her parents and pressuring her because she didn't consent. All because someone chose a permanent solution to a temporary goddamn situation. Here we go. If it'll play, let's see. Oh, wait, hang on. When I brought it to the stage and I loaded it, I did not actually test it to see if it actually would play. So I may just have to talk about it. And quite frankly, I think I add much more flair to it. Let's see. If it'll go. Let's see if it likes it. It was a pretty big file, so I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't like it. Yes. We did. It's a really heavy topic, so I really kind of have to. Yes, Alexis. Wow. Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm. Oh, so you saw the interview? Yes, I teared at the end of the interview as well. I did. Not gonna hold you, not gonna lie. And it wasn't from sadness, it was from anger. I was more upset. I don't think it's gonna let me play it because it's actually a pretty large file. So I'm gonna try and reload it really quick because I think I ended up loading it twice and I think I overloaded everything. So hang on. But yes, I was more upset than sad. No, I think it's too large. I'm gonna have to split it up because it's like I had to cut it and I don't think I cut it enough. Yeah. All right. So at any rate, I'll explain. I put the link to the full to the full interview in on my page because I didn't recognize when I gave BMU the description to put the descriptions of the actual links to all this in the thing. So that's my bad. But the links to the interview, I believe, is on my page's description linked. But yes, this interview was just okay. So you guys have seen it. Okay, so there are some people who have seen this interview. Okay, so cool. What bugs the hell out of me is that Jordan Peterson, whether you like him or not, like him, love him, hate him, he was able to explain some things that even the therapist that she apparently went to did not tell her. And when I hear these detransition stories, what I'm hearing is that the therapist basically just, this is what you're feeling. Okay. Here's your script. But I don't know if you guys caught this. So Alexis and Austin and don't worry, Bubs, you gonna see it. Did y'all catch this part where there was one therapist they went to, one endocrinologist that they went to, and that one endocrinologist provided pushback, and they went and got a different referral. The parents did that. Why are we getting a different referral? And I guess the question I want to ask, okay, yes, you heard that. Okay. And my thought process is, why? You have one endocrinologist trying to save this child's life. And now what I'm going to tell you, so spoiler alert, okay, what I'm going to tell you is this child, or now it's not a child anymore, but this woman is now saying to you that she is regretful because she isn't going to be able to have children. Wait. No. I'm sorry. Recant that. She is going to be able to have children, but she's having sexual malfunctions. She's not going to be able to breastfeed her children. There we go. And all of this stems from a few things. She said that she had social media pressures, okay, imagery influence from Instagram, and she was worried because she was looking around at the other women around her, And she was noticing how much different she was in comparison to the other women. Newsflash, she wasn't as, her words, she wasn't as voluptuous in comparison to the other women around her. And she was hearing the complaints from the other women about how difficult and how burdensome it was to be a woman. So you put those together. She was afraid about being a woman, but she was also burdened by the fact that she may never ever meet the bar that was set for her about what it would require to physically and physiologically look like a woman. Because God forbid if you are a woman, but you don't have the right. Here we go. God forbid if you're a woman and you don't have the right assets. Just like God forbid if you're a man and you don't have the right equipment. Right? How superficial is this world? Where she had mentioned that she was receiving bullying from not only the kids, but also the teacher's staff. Personal body shaming, so her own body shaming, as a result of familial comparison, but also staff bullying, kids bullying. But it all boils down to assimilation issues. Assimilating with other girls. So what did she do? She tried assimilating with the boys, which at one point she was taller than the boys at one point because girls grow faster, right? But then when the boys started shooting up, she no longer fit in with the boys nor the girls. And this all boils down to, where were the damn parents saying it was okay to be who you are? Where were they? No, instead it was, oh, you're not, you're feeling some kind of way about not being who you think you want to be. Let me proceed with pumping you full of drugs, and let me proceed with helping you with your transition because you said that you were okay with being a boy. No, Alexis, it's not just parents afraid to be trying to be friends. That's part of it. But they're trying to be friends when it's too late. The other part of it is that doctors will say this. Doctors will say, if you don't adhere and do what is required because your child is going through this particular mental situation, then you'd either have two choices. I think I can say this word, a deceased child, or a trans child. Now, as a parent, which choice would you make if that was the only option you were provided from a doctor? And up until this point, you have been your parent's friend. I mean, your child's friend. And you haven't been saying, hey, what's going on with you? Oh, we're going to sit down. We're going to have this conversation today because I'm not putting up with this. Don't you let anyone tell you you're not this. So what? You don't have this. Give it some time. Or you looking at everybody else and they already have this. Give it 10 years and they're going to have infinity signs for freaking breasts. Like, I used to sit back and look at everybody else around me because I'm a dude. I'm 5'8". I used to sit back and look around and everyone was giants. You know, I wouldn't say everybody, but there was the ones I was paying attention to, they were giants. And I look at them now. Time has not been kind to them. Bitch, time has not been kind to them. Yikes. And then the girls they were all after, who bloomed way too early. Yikes. And the point that I'm making there is that some things happen in times that they're supposed to happen. You can't always look at what somebody else has. Be happy with what you have and do with what you have. Because there's a reason why you have it and they don't, and vice versa. Constantly looking at somebody else's lawn and you're going to either overwater yours and drown the seeds you planted, or you're going to over fertilize it and burn the fuck out of it. I'm just saying. I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm going to speak to somebody. Okay. Let's see. Social media really does have a major impact on people, especially the youth. I feel like restricting the amount of content to minors lowers the risk of influence. Yes, but Austin, here's what I've learned about that. When it comes to kids, the longer you try to restrict them for it, the more it entices them to go towards it. You're better off just hitting them head on with it. Instead of helping the underlying issue, they're taking it at face value and proceeding with what they think is best. They think is the best course of action. Yes, but yeah, I would say I learned. Yeah, I learned that the best course of action for me anyway, was just to take it head on. Here's what you're going to end up coming up with and coming up to. Okay, so you want to get on social media? Bet. Here's what you're going to find out. Here's what you're going to experience. You ready for that? Cool. Let's sit down. Let's have this conversation. Let's have this real deal Holyfield conversation, because I'd rather you hear it from me than to see it out there. Let's go. They're going to see it anyway. They're going to hear it anyway. By the time I done that conversation, they're like, oh my God. You said you wanted social media, right? Well, because I found out that my own oldest son here knew about Pride, and I hadn't had a conversation with him about it. How do you find out? Social media. Well, shit. Okay. Cool. Feel like I have a conversation about it? No? Too bad. We are. Let's go. He thought he had an option. Nope. Yes. And you may as well have the conversation. There's no point in hiding and helicoptering. At least that's my opinion. Again, I will definitely bifurcate the difference between objectivity, subjectivity. Okay? Because I'm not in the business of telling people how to raise their children. Okay? Not my job. All right. So I do have I do not have blah, 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 blah. I do have another round in the chamber. Okay? Just in case something like this happened. And this is an audio interview in preparation for the Supreme Court hearing. Okay? And given the time, I think I covered this this well of a topic actually pretty lightly. Damn it. I think I did pretty well. All right. But before I do, I want to go over the findings really quick. Kids in these times, hang on. I told you I had like 3 chats happening at the same time. Kids in these times especially are really more exposed to adult-based subject matters than kids in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Yeah. All right. So remember I told you guys that I was going to go into the findings. Okay. So first of all, 1 second. 1 second. Let's get some water. All right. What you are looking at here is Senate Bill 1. And remember I told you Senate Bill 1 was a compendium. I won't say cacophony. Jeez. Compendium of 6833-101 and 6833-10. Did I say 2? Stand by. 2, yes. And as the Marine Corps says it, I think it's tree. We say tree whenever we are speaking in radio code. Tree, yes. Forward, for those of you who know, you know. Five, 6, 7. Okay. All right. Don't think I'm going to be reading all this to you. I did link this into the description on my page as well. But I want to go over some of these findings. All right, because it is important. All right. All right. So the legislature declares that it must take action to protect the health and welfare of minors. The legislature, I'm not going to do that every time, y'all, determines that medical procedures that alter a minor's hormonal balance, remove a minor's sex organs, or otherwise change a minor's physical appearance, or are harmful to a minor when these medical procedures are performed for a purpose of enabling a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with a minor's sex, or treated purported discomfort or distress with distress from a discordance between the minor's sex and asserted identity. These procedures can lead to a minor becoming irreversibly sterile, having increased risk of disease and illness, or suffering from adverse and sometimes fatal psychological consequences. Moreover, the legislature, I changed it, finds it likely that not all harmful effects associated with these types of medical procedures when performed on a minor are yet fully known. That's a key thing, is not yet fully known, okay? So I do find that if some things are not yet fully known, that's kind of a murky water there, because if things are not yet fully known, you can't make an empirical decision, but yet you won't know until some are done. But at the same time, we can extract from a few and project a little further, okay? Or just read the back of the side effects box and make some inferences, okay? Just throwing it out there, okay? Throwing it out there, okay? As many of these procedures, when performed on a minor, are such purposes are experimental in nature and not supported by high quality long-term medical studies. The legislature, the reason why I keep saying it like that is because there's a difference between legislation, legislator, and legislature. This is the legislature determines that there is evidence that medical procedures that alter a minor's hormonal balance, remove a minor a minor's sex organs or otherwise change a minor's physical appearance are not consistent with professional medical standards when the medical procedures are performed for the purpose of enabling a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with the minor's sex or treated purported discomfort or distress from a discordance between the minor's sex and asserted identity, because a minor's discordance can be resolved by less invasive approaches that are likely to result in a better outcome for the minor. Hey, bubs, like mascara. Sorry. Okay. That's one of those solutions, all right? Like mascara. All right. Let's see. Kids. Okay, I already read that one. All right. So instead of restricting it, use it as an opportunity to educate and warn them of the things that will be exposed to. I can get behind that. Cool. Love a consensus. Damn it. Love it when we can do that. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Like some damn mascara, bitch. Like some mascara. Okay. Now, the legislature finds that medical procedure. Oh, sorry, I thought I had my wife calling me. Okay. The legislature finds that medical procedures are being performed on and administered to minors in this state for such purposes, notwithstanding the risk and harms to the minors. Finding Delta, okay? Finding Echo. The legislature finds that Dr. John Money, oh, he's not after money at all. Oh, now my son's awake. Okay. All right. One of the earliest advocates for performing or administering such medical procedures on minors and a founder of the Johns Hopkins Gender Identity Clinic abuses minors entrusted to his care, resulted in that word of David and Brian Reimer. I'm assuming that these two were brothers. I'm going to have to look it up and get back to y'all. Okay. Foxtrot. The legislature finds that such medical procedures are being performed on and administered to minors in this state with rapidly increasing frequency, and that supposed guidelines advocating such treatment have changed substantially in recent years. The legislature, the legislator finds that minors lacking the maturity to fully understand and appreciate the life-altering consequences of such procedures, and that many individuals have expressed regret at medical procedures that were performed on or administered to them for such purposes when they were minors. I just talked about that with the interview that unfortunately won't play, but I gave you guys the link or told y'all where y'all can find the link. Okay. The hotel. The legislature finds that many of the same pharmaceutical companies that contributed to the opioid epidemic have sought to profit from the administration of drugs use of devices on minors for such purposes, and to have paid consulting fees to physicians who then advocate for administration of drugs or use of devices for such purposes. The legislator finds that healthcare providers in this state have sought to perform such surgeries on minors because the surgeries, quote, make a lot of money and, quote, are huge money makers, end quote. Not necessarily because the surgeries are in the minor's best interest. Okay. So besides mascara, what would you consider to be the less or non-invasive method? Okay. So objectively here speaking, looking at what they would consider less or non-invasive method, I don't necessarily know what they mean. Okay. For me, if I had to meet in the middle between non-transitioning at all and surgical transitioning or medical transitioning, the obvious middle would be social transitioning if you had to pick one. Okay. If you're not interested in the transitioning portion at all, then there is, or there would be, the hard conversations, or there would be the therapy sessions of getting down to the root of why you feel, or someone feels or thinks the way they feel and think. Now that could be very mentally invasive, but I don't think, my personal opinion, not objective, subjective opinion here, I don't think oftentimes getting down to the root of the why people feel the way they feel or think the way they think, I don't think that's oftentimes really done. It's just, this right here would make you feel better. Great. And you're at a risk of potentially harming yourself. Great. Cool. Here's a solution. And I think oftentimes, and not to be what's the word I'm looking for? Not to be precocious in any way, or to be incendiary, or maybe even lewd in any way. But oftentimes I think it's the fear of repeating history, or repeating anything that is the semblance of bigotry or discrimination, that causes people to fear criticizing or applying critical thought to these type of situations. It's my opinion. Because just maybe if you get down to the root of why someone feels the way they feel, and oftentimes, just like in the interview, what I wrote down was oftentimes missing in, I think her name was Chloe. What was missing in Chloe's life was missing community. There was no one to say, you're fine or beautiful the way you are. So what if you don't have this? But first, we need to understand, what is it that you're thinking? Why is there a disconnect between this and this? What you perceive, because even when these people go to, even when you go to the clinic and say that I am gender dysphoric, right? And you finally get to the stage of getting puberty blockers or whatever the case may be, you know, the first thing that they observe, your biological gender or your biological sex. That's tied to, your gender that's tied to your biological sex. So right there is a recognition of object reality right there. So then why is that lost? And the DSM-5 Tango Romeo says it best: preference, desire, strong conviction. So why do you desire so much to be the opposite that you have created a disassociation mentally from what you are, that you know you are, from what you want to be? That if you do not get what you want to be, that you are then creating such a depressed reality because your reality doesn't match your false reality. That's the only reason why people ever become depressed, is because they're not where they want to be, and their reality doesn't match their fictitious dream or reality. Think about it. Think about someone who is financially who is depressed because of financial reasons. Why? Because they broke and they want to be rich. Think about it. Somebody won't give you, or what you're wanting is not reality. And that is why you would prefer to go into deep rest. Hopefully I answered the question. Oh, there we go. I don't think I answered it perfectly, but I think that if there was, that's almost like me being a vet, okay? Going to the VA, and the first thing they want to do is pump me full of medications. Well, damn, can we try something else? Shit. Can we get down to the root of the problem? Well, boss man, are you willing to go into therapy? Yes. Shit. Can we get, I'm fine. Shit. Before y'all try and give me something else to take. Shit. Good enough. What if we all had that approach? Bingo. Right here. Clock it. Trauma that you're wanting to try to hide from versus facing it head on. And look, I'm not feeling any type of vindication from being any sense or right about this. This is actually something I am upset about, because it's the parents who don't look at this and say, there is something for me to do as a parent to reach in and dig in. And for those with nails to go in and claw in. And those without nails with bigger hands than me to go in and put a palm on the shoulder and say, I got you. Let's talk about it. But here's the thing. Parents have got to be willing to actually have the fucking conversations. You can't sit here and be upset that children won't come talk to you if you are so fucking closed-minded that you are unwilling to even listen to anything that doesn't fit into a goddamn book. And you wondering why they prefer to go to the teachers versus yo ass. If you don't think that conversations are going to change along with the times, you're bugging. You're bugging. My oldest daughter came to me one time and she said, oh, she didn't come to me, she came to us. And she said, I think I like girls. We looked at each other. We said, well, all right, well, we're gonna have to change our conversations that we're having. And then we said to ourselves, well, that's 100% chances that we're not having any babies before she turns 18. Sometimes you have to look at the pot, look at the silver lining in something that is the opposite of what you could have possibly imagined was going to be the topic of a conversation when you're sitting down having dinner. Because imagine if I had to basically, threw whatever book I wanted to throw at her for the day. Just imagine. Just imagine if I had created an unsafe space for her in that moment. Just imagine. She'd never come to tell us anything else again. Then she came back and said, I like boys and girls. Oh, well, it just reduced to 50%. Still better than 100. Laugh. And now there is no girls in sight. She is happy with her man. And I couldn't be happier for her. Where were the parents to offer a little bit of tough love? To say, if you go down this path, and if you don't see the reality in this, then this is what you're going to end up dealing with. Don't think that these conversations end in sunshine and flowers and shit. They don't. It most certainly does not. And when you've reached your capacity, fine, seek help. Some conversations I'm not meant for. I've reached my limit. But that doesn't mean that does not mean that there isn't a safe space 100% of the time here. I am not scared of any conversation. Especially when there are people out here who will be willing to have any conversation. They're completely fearless to have any conversation with your children. Clock it. Yes. Whew. There was an episode on the Golden Girls, sort of relating to the topic. It was about cross-dressing, though. Dorothy's younger brother, Phil, sadly passed away, and Sophia was always questioned why. Questioned why he was like that. And Dorothy said he must have had a deep psychological need to cross-dress. Deep psychological need, and cross-dressing provided an emotional outlet. Then at the end, when Rose helped Sophia cope with his passing, she said, "What did I do? What did I say? What was the day I did? What was the day I did to make him the way he was?" I vaguely remember that episode. Yes, I can agree with this. Maybe these doctors who are making money off of the trans experience wouldn't have full pockets if the parents could transcend the fear and see what the actual truth is. I could agree with that. I could agree. Because that's what the legislature is finding here. The doctors are, and y'all, this is in a deep red state. Tennessee ain't no blue state, it ain't even a purple state. It's a red state. Okay? There's a Planned Parenthood in Tennessee. Have y'all believing that Planned Parenthood is only in blue states? Nah, they everywhere. The legislature finds that Planned Parenthood in Tennessee, Planned Parenthood of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Oh, we got to get a. Oh, but that's another red state. An organization responsible for that word, tens of thousands of unborn children, has become one of the largest administrators in this state of such medical procedures. Mike, the legislature declares, okay, I'm sorry. That's kind of a non sequitur because it really doesn't matter who is the one that's doing it. So as long as you're actually getting the legislation through. But okay. So we got Lima in there. Great. Okay. Mike, the legislature declares that the integrity and public respect of the medical profession are significantly harmed by healthcare providers performing or administering such medical procedures on minors. This state has the legitimate, substantial, and compelling interest in protecting minors from physical and emotional harm. This state has a legitimate, substantial, and compelling interest in protecting the ability of minors to develop into adults who can create children of their own. This state has a legitimate, by the way, they say this multiple times, so I'm going to skip past it to get to the point. Promoting the dignity of minors. Encouraging minors to appreciate their sex, particularly as they undergo puberty. Protecting the integrity of the medical profession, including by prohibiting medical procedures that are harmful, unethical, immoral, experimental, or supported by high quality or long-term studies, or that might encourage minors to become disdainful of their sex. Okay. Therefore, it is the purpose of this chapter to prohibit medical procedures from being administered to or performed on minors when the purpose of the medical procedure is to enable a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with the minor's sex, or treat purported discomfort or distress from a discordance between the minor's sex and asserted identity. And then we have definitions. Okay. Now, those of you who don't know my political affiliation, I am a Democrat. Repeat, I am a Democrat. One more time, I am a Democrat. And I had my Republican family member recently tell me that I cannot be a conservative Democrat. There's no such thing as a conservative Democrat. But there is such thing as a liberal Republican. What the fuck? Where is my...
That shit lame as fuck.
Exactly. What? So it's okay for thee, but not for me, right? Okay. Very well. Whatever. Listen. I am more conservative than I am liberal on a lot of things. I am a lot of liberal than I am conservative on others. All right? However, when I read this, there's not a heck of a whole lot that I disagree with. One more time. There's not a heck of a whole lot that I disagree with. Well, I am thankful you are a survivor. Appreciate your honesty and appreciate you coming forward and saying something and sharing. And yes, again, I'm going to go back to appreciate you and thank you for coming forward and saying something. And yes, surviving is the most important part. Damn everything else. If you want my honest opinion, the fact that you are a survivor, that's the most important part to me. Okay, so I appreciate it. I got what you're saying. I got you. What was I gonna say? That was that threw me off, but it threw me off in a good way. So appreciate it, Austin. Thank you. Thanks, Braxton. Yes. Yes, Austin. We're glad you were here and keep living life. Absolutely. Salute to you. Absolutely. This salute is always so weird because technically you're supposed to salute with your right hand. And because my hand is always on the mouse, I'm forced to salute with my left. And it's the weirdest thing in the world for me because it's technically not right. But technically, you're not supposed to salute unless you have a cover on. And I don't have a cover. So it is the most weirdest salute in the world. A thumb is never right. It's technically supposed to be here. Okay. It's a weird thing. Very random moment. Never mind me. Okay. Okay. All right. Anyway. All right. Salute to you, Austin. Okay. Where was I gonna go with this? Okay, yes. So there we go. I'm back. I agree. Hey, Austin, by the way, hopefully I see you over here on my side of the YouTube universe. So hopefully you come back around and we do have other topics and other conversations like this as well. Please like, share, and subscribe. Okay. All right. Make sure you do that. Shameless plug. But I don't disagree. Okay, Sparta. All right, yes, typical Marine. Yes, I have a hard time watching shows where there's like any military because like if the patches aren't right or if or if their chevrons aren't right, I have a problem. Okay? My wife is like, "Oh my god, I cannot watch shit with you because you criticize every part of the uniform." You damn right. I got a problem with it. Okay. I even think well, never mind. I ain't gonna say it because if I say something now, the world's gonna know, and I can't do that. So never mind. But yeah, when I watch uniforms, when I watch military military people like on like TV shows or movies or whatever, especially if they're Marines, yeah, I will dress down if their uniform is not correct or something is wrong or what. I have a problem, and I'm like, Marines don't wear patches on their camis. That's not how this works. What are we doing? Okay, no, that is some army trash. We don't wear patches on our arms. Who does that? Anyway, good to see you, Sparta. But yes, back to the policy. I actually agree with some of this, provided that the findings that they have found are accurate. Okay. I already mentioned that Lima, the L section right there is a non sequitur, but provided that what they said was correct, and sound and accurate and not hyperbolic, I could agree. Because again, none of this should be happening with minors. And quite frankly, I'm gonna take it a step further, and y'all might not like me on this one, but maybe not even until you're 25. And the only reason why I say that is because you're still on my insurance at still on my insurance at 18. Okay, I'm not paying for that. Sorry. All right, you get your own job, you pay for it. Okay, but at least at the ripe old age of 18. Okay, that's when you have the agency to make these decisions. Okay, but and even then, I don't. It's tough to say, but most of the time, the body is done pubescing. Definitely by 18. Okay, definitely. It's arguable if you're done physiologically developing or not, but you're definitely done pubescing by that point in time. Okay, so I could agree. All right. And if someone feels so compelled to transition and whatnot, there are psychological studies and psychologists and analyses being conducted to suggest that there's not a direct connection with someone to say that if you're so unhappy and displeased that you are going to be so adamant to remove yourself from this planet. It's not that I want to sound insensitive to that. I want to be careful when I say this, but to people who feel so compelled to do so, I don't think, and this is where my subjectivity comes in versus objectivity, I don't think that it's going to be off of something that is so minuscule that is a disagreement of what is reality. That is so minor than just acceptance. It has to be, I believe, has to be something a heck of a whole lot more for you to really believe that that is the only option that you have. And the only reason why I say this is because being a vet and having talked some people off the ledge in my own barracks. And these weren't people that were dealing with disassociative issues of disagreement between being mentally a female and physically a male. These people were coming back from wars. These people were dealing with coming back and their wives have taken their kids away from them and took everything that they had and left them. These people felt as though that they made the wrong decision and their entire platoon were decimated because they felt as though they made the wrong decision. not just felt as though, not to be insensitive, but felt as though if I don't get the care that I think I need, because I have a strong preference to be the other gender, that I can try as I might, that I can get all of the surgeries that I can get all the medication that I can possibly get, and will never actually physically, corporeally, and biologically ever be unless somebody else accepts me. Isn't it more important for you to accept yourself? What are we talking about? But no, that, if I don't get all that, then I'm thinking about removing myself. And then pin that on somebody else, if as a pin of guilt. Think about that for 1 second. This is what I mean when I say being honest. Just say it's what you want. Cool. Great. Just say that. Just say it. That's more tolerable. That's easily more, that's more assimilating than calling something that it's not. And then if you are going to make that decision, then make that decision when you don't need a third party to provide consent. Because as long as you are a minor, you're going to need third party consent. And it then can potentially end up being a permanent solution for a temporary situation. That's all I'm saying. Because even if you end up doing everything you possibly can to assimilate as a trans woman, and there are some bad ones that actually do, and bad in a good way. There are some bad ones that actually do the damn thing. Okay, can fool the masses. Guess what? And here we go. I'm gonna call an ace a spade, and I might get a I might get a pitchfork. But here we go. Ready? Here we go. Because y'all didn't come for some shit. For some sugarcoating shit. You came for some objective truth. So here we go. Here's the objective truth. When an ambulance comes and gets you, okay? And they need to know how much morphine to give you, how much acetaminophen to give you. Your body, regardless of what you do to it, is going to metabolize medication as a man. It is. Which means you are going to need care as a man, but if you are a transsexual, you are going to need care as a trans woman, not a woman, which is your own lane of care. So I have the utmost respect for those who are trans women and don't want to be assimilated and say, I am a woman. No, I am a trans woman. And divide that difference between a woman and a trans woman. Much respect to you. Because at least you're not trying to step on the feet of the people who were willing to fight for you and the rights for you, and vice versa, right? Cool. What I tend to have a problem with are the people who say that, hey, trans women, and you're not even transsexual, might I add, you haven't even committed yet, have the gall to say that you are a woman. I went to my wife's appointments and literally had to argue doctors down and vouch for my wife's pain. The space that women are in is already tumultuous enough to then have men coming in and unwilling to create their own lane as trans women to swim in. That's my argument. One of my arguments, probably from part 3. Because I think I made my point from part 4 tonight. So no, I don't dislike trans people. I don't. I'm not someone that thinks that crucifix, pitchforks and fire. No. You won't get that from me. But I do think everyone deserves their own lane. There are differences, and those differences should be respected. That's my point. When it comes to the differences of trans women, trans men, and men. There are differences. They should be respected. Because trans men, for instance, how about they give you a dose of morphine that is fit for a man? You're not going to make it through the night. You're going to want the care that you are designed by your biological being. It doesn't matter how much testosterone you take. Because at the end of the day, if a trans man is in a coma, what they going to pay more attention to? The fact of what you transitioned to or what you were originally? If a trans woman is in a coma, what are they going to pay attention to most? That's a trick question. Somebody tell me why that's a trick question before a trans woman and a trans man. Why is that a trick question? Come on. Why is that a trick question? And obviously, I'm talking about transsexual, not transgendered. And come on, anybody. Come on. Someone's like, no, a trans woman is still a man, right? A trans man is still a woman, right? Hang on a second. There's a man and woman, a person who uses the term trans and is trying to transform themselves into something they're not and trying to fool and lie to themselves that know us. Interesting thought. That's a disingenuous question and definitely moving the goalpost from a null and void scenario. No, it's not. I'm going to tell you why. Because for a trans woman who is a transsexual woman, because there's a difference between a transgendered woman and a transsexual woman. Transgendered woman, there is no argument. However, a transsexual woman, there is. Because the care of a transsexual woman requires one thing, and that is dilation. Because the incision that is made in order to create the incision is a wound. It's not natural. So the care that a comatose transsexual trans woman is would need technically is their own swim lane. It's their own swim lane more so than a trans man, because a trans man is nothing more than quite frankly a testosterone laden woman. Because you can get a phalloplasty, but it's literally useless. It's trying to fit a square peg into a circle hole, same dysfunction, same scenario, same outcome. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you. And it's only because of one component, and that is because transsexual trans women, they have to undergo dilation. And if you don't know what dilation is, then you can't speak on this. Otherwise, if you're conflating the two between transgender and transsexual, then I can't help you. Trans men don't have to be dilated. If you need help understanding what dilation is, well, then ask a woman what dilation is. That's the slight difference between trans women and trans men. But the overall generalized point is that trans women will never need the care of a woman. And trans men will never get the care of a man. They deserve their own lanes, is the point. Let's see. That's fine. We can respectfully disagree. 100% both, but both transsexual and transgenders still trying to transform themselves to pretend in a world they are something they are not and can't cope with. Now that I don't necessarily disagree with. To an end where they are actually unable to be okay with themselves without necessarily transitioning. That you're not necessarily wrong with. The only point of contention that I have is the scenario that I gave is that there's a slight difference between the type of care that I was talking about between the two types of trans. And again, I'm talking about transsexuals, not transgenders. There's a difference. And again, I know people like to conflate and mix the two, but when I'm talking about these matters, I have to talk very precisely out of respect, because if not, then I'm speaking ignorantly, and I don't want to do that. But here, this statement here is not necessarily wrong, because some do have issues coping, and therefore they end up getting to the other side and then finding out that they end up running into the exact same coping issues, which is ultimately the compendium of what I've been talking about all night, which is if you had better accepted yourself in the beginning, you never would have had the transition in the first place. Okay, we can agree one has the surgeries while the other one just dresses and hasn't had the surgeries done. Okay. That's understood when I said one thing versus the other. But yes, we can agree on that. All right. I feel those who have to go through through that cause, right, go through that because I think they have to do it every few. Yes. So every few months, yes, but it depends on the healing factor of each body. Everyone's different. Did I mention that my algorithm is all kinds of fucked in my on one of my accounts? Yeah. So apparently, and he's gone. Okay. So apparently, essentially, what happens here is that it depends on. Apparently, it just depends on how fast. That actually depends on a few things, but I'm just going to mention that it depends on how fast your own healing generation is for you. Everyone heals at a different rate, and that's as far as I'm going to go on that. Okay, but we're going to leave that there. Yeah, every few months. We're just going to go there. Okay. Oh no, he didn't leave. Okay, I thought maybe he left. Oh no, I don't think that you are. I just disagree with it because I have loved ones. I have love for them and care. I have love and care and grace. Wait. That's a way of putting it, alternative lifestyle. You just disagree with it. Okay. Fair enough. So, to sum up and summarize as I go into the 2-hour mark, I will say that there are things that I disagree with too. What I try and do here, and I think the purpose of this entire series, I'm going to be very honest with you. I had no intentions of the LGBTQ conundrum going actually all the way to part 4. I had no intentions on it doing so. I had another clip I was going to show you. I'm actually going to save it for another time. Because like these conversations here, dialogue gets it going, and apparently I'm able to speak more than I have more notes. And apparently I second guess myself on what I'm able to speak to. and I always think I'm going to have to refer back to my notes more than I have the ability to actually expound. I really got to stop doing that, but I'm over prepared is essentially what ends up happening on these. And I get really, I'll divulge. I get really stressed out talking about the LGBTQ conundrum because I really strive to be careful, not careful in my delivery, but careful in how surgical I am with what I use in my delivery. Because there's a way of saying what you disagree with without bludgeoning someone. I can fine tooth comb and sliver away at something without completely demolishing it. And that's where I have to strike this balance here. So, and while also meeting in the middle and saying, yes, I have agreements with the conservative mindset, but I also have disagreement with the conservative mindset too. And that I don't use a religious pitchfork and say, it's just wrong because my religion says so. Because most of the leaders of the religious movement, the prolific leaders of the religious movement says, and the decrees say, more to love the neighbors and not to love the religion more. And what we oftentimes find is that there's more love for the religion and less love for the people. And that is why I got away from it. If you want honesty. So I find ways to cut that cloth in the middle and say, okay, what don't I like about this? And what don't I like about that? I don't have to hate the person to be able to point out what I dislike about what the people are doing. Because what you doing over there in your state ain't got shit to do with me over here. We'll get there. So I would much rather speak to an overall trend than to take away your rights to follow your own trend. At least that's my approach. I'd much rather appeal to your humanity and say, hey, parents, is the risk really worth it to fix your child's temporary situation with a permanent solution? And do you really want to be responsible? Because this child down here that I was going to show y'all but couldn't show you, but the link is in my description on my channel. Shameless plug, the Objectivist podcast. Yeah, that baby is suing. Is on her way to sue her parents, and has every right to. Do you really want to be responsible for the misery of your child because you just couldn't speak life into your child? And that don't apply just to the pride community. That applies to everybody. Okay, I'll fix the link. Thanks for letting me know. In their minds, it's you show your love to whatever God you believe in by hating what they hate and love what they love. You show your love to whatever God you believe in by hating what they hate and love what they love. Interesting. Whose minds? Braxton. Whose minds? The religious ones or the Gentiles? Which ones? The Jews or the Gentiles? Or all people are you saying it about? Curious. Curious to know. Mm-hmm. Yep, the minds of so-called religious ones for the religious ones who are like that. Not all of them. Okay. That was my initial thought, but the other part of me said that it was potentially the other side too. And I was like, You saw what happened. You saw my face completely was just like, intriguing. Tell me more. Agreed. Okay. Agreed. For those who are like that, correct. Being in love with the religion more than the decrees of the religion is more, I think it's a little bit detrimental. Well, I'll save that for another day. I just remember being told that I was a heretic because I was seeking more information. Well, I'd be damned. So I guess I'm a heretic. Anyway, thank you all for coming out. Context and clarity. I try. I do. No, not at all people. Not all people, because as we know, that broad statement aren't correct. Agreed. For being objective about it, broad statements are not true. Correct. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Correct. All right, people. Well, thanks everyone for coming out. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I believe I made a few points, valiant points tonight and poignant points tonight. For those of you who are new faces around here, I appreciate you guys for coming through. Come on back. All right. I promise not all conversations are this dark and this deep here. I am going to be taking off next week because it's Thanksgiving and your boy be in the kitchen. All right. I got some cooking to do for the whole family. All right. And cooking is my love language. So yes, I'm going to be throwing down. All right. Might share some pictures on my page. So I'll be on the following week. And we'll continue that way. So at any rate, please like, share, and subscribe. And put some more thoughts in the comments down below after the link actually posts. And let's keep the conversation going. Let's not end it here. There's more to be said about this topic for sure, especially as this goes into the Supreme Court, especially on December 4th. This is going to the Supreme Court. It's already on the docket. I checked it. It's on the docket. Okay. Even as we go into the Agent Orange transition. Okay. It is on the docket. Good night, Milani. Okay. It's going to be there. All right. So we'll see what happens. All right. But as I would say to everyone, and I always say every week, think harder, think deeper, think objectively. Whatever you come up with, stay on that shit. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
right, guys, another one in the books. Another great episode on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Listen, we're doing the thing over here. So, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Also, if you want to donate to the channel, which helps the channel, hit your boy Cash App. It's scrolling right here, right there, at the bottom of the screen, and support the channel. But we're happy that you're here, and we look forward to seeing you on every episode. So hit the notification button so you know when we go live. Thank you again, guys, for watching. We out.